All right, so we are back in the AI interrogation room, and we've been asking it some pretty obscure questions lately, trying to figure out what it can do in terms of generalizing information for us. And last time we did ideology, ranking ideology, and this time we're going to do something a little bit different and very difficult. We're going to ask it to do something very, very difficult, and I already did. But the scope and the point of this prompt, this question here, is aimed at demonstrating or conveying an intuition regarding how well we generally have it in the United States of America based on the value of the amenities and the utilities that we're just born into. And by that, I mean the things that you essentially use every day and benefit from, but that you really pay very little attention or give little thought to on a day to day basis. And these can be things like infrastructure, benefits of science and technology, that many of us are taking medications daily, wearing contacts, that have augmented something about our physical person that allows us to live life more efficiently. And there are no shortage of things that we are using every day that aren't a direct result of us, of our merit or our production. And that is like the vast majority, 99% of all things, as you are benefiting from the foundations of someone else's work in almost every facet of your life. So the question we asked chat is, I wanted to be as descriptive as possible, as detailed as possible, but we have to keep in mind that there's realistically no way for the AI to answer this question accurately. It's a pure estimate, it's a pure guess, and even the like the basis from which it was making its calculations, I disagree with that. But we're going to go through it, and I'm going to explain why. So I said in the prompt, calculate or estimate the average real value of all amenities and utilities and measurable or quantifiable benefits that a person automatically receives when born into the United States of America. This includes anything that a person benefits from or utilizes without any direct consideration or anything in return. These benefits could include, but are certainly not limited to, the value of unlimited, clean, safe, and readily available drinking water, public plumbing, sewage, general infrastructure, transportation systems, digital infrastructure and technology, GPS, AI, search engines, online communication, etc. In addition to tamed land, the scaling of food and commercial supply chain, medicine, hospitals, public services, the vast amount of deeply integrated science and technology that we utilize every day, yet rarely consider. All right, and then I ask it to calculate the dollar value amount relative to someone born into a third world country or a situation where they do not have these things, otherwise lacking all amenities that they did not directly create. The overall point of this calculation is aimed at conveying a sense of how advantaged or overall better off we are living in the US as a result of all collective innovation and trade, and how much we benefit from that value without realizing it. And so I might have made a mistake in that prompt by using the word benefit, but I am directly trying to give like a value representation. I'm trying to quantify that benefit because it obviously is a benefit. The things that we take for granted and take as like given and don't give much thought about, here in 2024, I'm trying to, yeah, basically assess all of those things. And it, since these calculations themselves and the value of money and the real value of money, that is already subjective. So when we are cross comparing in terms of relative value, historical value, and then obviously comparing across civilizations, there's no proper way to do that. But when it's going through its answer, it does give us some key important points that we can kind of use to help intuitively build up that sense of benefit that we have. So it said calculating the average real value of all amenities, utilities, and quantifiable benefits a person automatically receives when born into the USA involves considering various infrastructure, public services, and technological advancements. This will be an estimation, as precise values for some intangible benefits are difficult to determine. However, I can provide detailed estimate based on available data and common assumptions. So it lists the categories, starting with water and sanitation. Now, this is why I disagree a little bit with the value, because these numbers, they might be accurate in like a nominal sense, but they don't convey like the value intuitively. By that I mean water, for example. So clean drinking water, they estimate that at a value of 300,000 or $300 per year per person. Plumbing and sewage estimated at 400 per year per person. But even those estimates are on the basis of assuming we have scaled up infrastructure enough to where it only costs $300 a year per person to maintain these sewage lines and these water lines. But if you really think about it, the true value of the work and effort put into, well, the idea and the construction of these types of infrastructure in their first place is much, much higher than that. So, in other words, when you think about the value that you're getting from something like a sink, basic as a sink, you turn on your tap and then water just instantly comes out. You're not just getting the value, the average value of what it costs per year on a scaled basis. You're getting the value of all of the innovation and the technology and the trial and error and the risk and the capital and the investment that was put into the creation and development of the sink and public water lines and the central planning that was necessary in order to make sure that happens consistently across a wide geographical space. You're getting all of that value, the value of all the engineers, the technicians, the scientists who have meticulously worked to construct the best possible version of what we have now today as, a sink. And now we have all kinds of other amenities that have come sort of ancillary to that, like water filters and a very efficient hot water, cold water system. Really things that you like, really things that are the most simple, but you could never have figured it out if you tried for years. It necessarily requires a long period of time and a large number of people thinking collectively to solve a general problem. And you're benefiting from all of the solutions to that problem, essentially, an optimized solution to that problem. And because of scaling, they can say that that cost is $300, $400 per year, less than $1,000 per year for both of those things combined. But thinking about the real value, you are benefiting from so much more than just that. Now, infrastructure is essentially the same thing. Roads and transportation, digital infrastructure and technology, public transportation, they'll add all those things up and it will be what, $4,700. But again, the roads and the transportation, you're not just getting the immediate present use and maintenance of all of those transportations. You're getting all of the planning and the work leading into and building up the infrastructure that we have today. All of the bridges, all of the roads, all of our highways, our stoplights, our traffic signs, they are a result of a highly efficient and highly optimized established infrastructure. And I think about this too. It's like even a car, you buy a car, cars are expensive, but you have no idea what the heck is going on within the engine of that car, except for a few people. And all of the components of that car working together in a way that seems errorless, it seems perfect, yet your understanding of what's actually going on is little to none. You're using the car every day. You're taking advantage of the car, of the value that the car has to offer you, but you have put no work. You have done nothing to understand anything about the car. And it's beautiful. That's the crazy thing, is we can get to a point. And that is why when we talk about free markets, it is such a beautiful thing, because you need central planning to some degree, but you need free markets for the innovation. And all of these things that we assume are just there and like happen naturally, they didn't happen naturally. They came about due to the process, a very long process of trying to figure these things out. in as effective of a way as possible. And to a large degree, we have. We have figured out plumbing. We have figured out the water. We have figured out mass manufacturing, mass production, and the supply chain. We figured all those things out to a degree that really is incomprehensible on the individual level. And now going down, it lists healthcare. So that's a more generalized calculation as it's consolidating all public health services, and then $3,000 a year. Emergency services, $1,500 a year, which also, I mean, you're not seeing the value of that on a daily basis, but you're seeing the value of that in a way that's akin to potential energy. Like if your house were to start on fire, there would be a fire squad there within 15, 20 minutes, maybe less. And there would be a fire hydrant, probably would be a fire hydrant nearby, close enough for them to hook up and use that to put the fire at your house out. These things are already set up, they're already in place, and they're designed to prepare for the worst case scenario. And you obviously hope and pray that the worst case scenario never happens, but if it does, you are also benefiting from everything, all of the work and all of the foresight leading up to and built into the infrastructure that is there and ready to be used if, God forbid, your house did start on fire. So these are things you can think about them as deeply as you want, and it should only affirm your sense of appreciation for what you have and what you're benefiting from. It's crazy. Education is similar. There's more of a debate that can be had around education and whether or not we can optimize that further. But that is it's a huge asset. It's a huge resource that we invest collectively in and that people do benefit from. Science and technology, now this one is criminally low because for the reasons we talked about, you have to consider all of the scientific and technological innovation that has contributed to the trial and error, contributed to this process of becoming more and more efficient with our technology over time. That it's going to be way more than a couple grand. The production, the invention of these microprocessors alone, the fact that you're benefiting from that, and essentially all of the devices that you use, your phone, your computer, and that's another way to think about it. If you have a phone, you have a smartphone, an iPhone, you are utilizing not even daily, but for hours a day, likely, this microchip super processor that you have no idea what it is. You have no idea what it is. Maybe a small percentage of people understand how that type of thing works, but you don't, and I don't. And we could dedicate the rest of our lives trying to understand that and then recreate it, but we very likely couldn't because even those innovators were building off of the value, the research, the technology, etc., that came before them. So it's a continual, it's a perpetual process of improvement. And right now, you're sitting at the pinnacle of that. And the amount of built-in ingrained value that you are seeing as a result of these things, it's so much more than you can fathom. It really is. And you can also make the comparison of, say, someone 50 years ago. What monetary value would that person need in order to attain all of the amenities that you have this today? I don't think you could make a calculation like that because there is a exponential scale to these types of technologies. And the reality is a person in 1950, 60, 70, whatever it is, they couldn't fathom the type of smartphones that we have today. They wouldn't understand it. And it's kind of awesome. So just finishing up on this list here, they list public services. We just went through that. Environmental land use, food and commercial supply chain. So we can go through the same process, the same line of thinking for all of these items, and it would be similar. And these dollar amounts, they're not accounting for those intangibles that are necessarily way more valuable than the nominal averaged out cost on like a yearly basis. So they wrap up this calculation. They give us a yearly value and a lifetime value of what it might mean to be born into the USA relative to be born into nothing. And their calculated value is just under 17,000 a year, or 1.35 million over an 80-year period, which is their average lifespan. And so they did a quick estimation on what it might be like to live in a third world country. They took 20% of that value. That would be just over $3,000 a year, or 270,000 over the course of your entire lifetime. And when I look at these numbers, I understand what the AI is doing and what it is trying to calculate. But it is not, when I look at these, for me, it's not sufficient for accurately conveying the true value, the real value of all of these amenities that we have. And I would venture to guess that without having a way to quantify it, it's going to be much, much more than $1 million over the course of your lifetime. The actual value of the things that you benefit from that haven't been a direct result of your own production or innovation, the value of that in total is going to be an incalculable number. And even though we don't have a number, the point of this exercise is to help understand, to help instill in us and the people who are watching what it really means to prioritize and to value this thing that we call innovation, and creating a environment or a system where that innovation can maximize. In these past few videos, we've talked about ideologies, we've talked about economic systems, and we've talked about free markets. And I have described the free market as a kind of natural state that will arise when people start to specialize in things. Trade will occur. You'll be able to afford better products at a lower price. And this basic principle extends out to just about everything. And that's what scaling is. That's why scaling is good. Scaling brings value to everyone. And those who are out there that see this as a zero sum game, that's not how it works. And if it was, you wouldn't be looking at the world we live in today through such an insanely different lens than even just 30 years ago. It's not comparable in terms of the technology that we have. And it's going to be just as uncomparable looking forward 30 years in the future. So this is a very, I think, useful principle to keep in mind, a useful perspective to have when it comes to engaging with the world. And what I found is that it really does give you a much deeper sense of appreciation for everything you see around you and all of the effort and the sacrifice that has been put into the things that you quite literally use on a day-to-day basis without realizing. And that's it. That's it. So that's all we're trying to do with this prompt. Even though chat didn't really give us what we were looking for, it still helped us kind of walk through these things step by step and convey that intuition by thinking about each item a little bit more deeply. So that's it. We're going to continue the AI interrogation series. If you guys have any cool ideas, let me know. But subscribe if you are still watching, and join the Discord, which is growing slowly but surely. So I'll see you guys at the next video.